Hello, good morning, everybody. It is very nice to see you this morning. We are here live at the Impact Money Show. Bitcoin, BRICS, and dollars, Trump's economic overhaul, Middle East tensions, and Kash Patel's FBI vision. This is a special edition where we deep dive into the geopolitical and economic chessboard, examining the moves that could reshape our financial future. Today, we're tackling 3 seismic shifts that are not just headlines, but potential game changers in the world of global finance. Of course, today is the Monday after Thanksgiving. I hope that you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We definitely did at our house. We've been busy as well with the Christmas Carol. I'm doing another play with my daughters, the Christmas Carol, and that has been a lot of fun for us. They're only young for so long, right? And so we're trying to enjoy our time. But hopefully you guys were able to have some time with family and really enjoy it, because it has been an eventful time. First up, Bitcoin. This has all obviously been hailed by myself and other people as the future of money, and also has been said as it's a fleeting fad by others. But the recent global economic uncertainties have pushed this digital currency to new heights. Bitcoin has found itself at the heart of the financial innovation. How does it fit in the grand scheme where nations are looking for alternatives to traditional currencies? That leads us to BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These countries are not just an acronym. They're a coalition eyeing to challenge the dollar's dominance. We're living through an era where discussions about BRICS currency are no longer whispers, but loud calls for economic independence from the Western financial systems. Central banking cartel, okay? What does that mean for the US dollar, especially under Trump's economic strategy? Of course, Trump has come in and he has changed everything. Hey, Bruce, any news on Soki? It's time to pump, guys. I'm telling everybody, you got to pump your coin. That's the way it works. You got to pump it. Nobody cares about the coin unless you pump it. That's the way it works, guys. That is the way it works. Speaking of President Trump, his economic overhaul is nothing short of revolutionary. With his return to power, there's a promise of reshaping U.S. economic policy, from tariffs to trade deals. But there's a twist. His stance on BRICS and the dollar could either fortify America's economic standing or lead to a new era of financial competition. Of course, he has come out over the last week or so very strongly, saying that he is going to impose tariffs if this other currency, this BRICS currency, has started. Now, the truth is, guys, that the ship has sailed, okay? Not putting anything past what the guy can achieve, though, because we'll see how it all plays out. But most of the world, they're sick of the economic sanctions put in by the dollar. Most of them, because of the economic sanctions, is pushed the dollar out of, they're not using the dollar anymore. And it's because of these economic sanctions, primarily. We've forced them in order to do it. And amidst these global maneuvers, the Middle East tensions continue to flare, implicating oil prices, trade routes, and stability of global markets. How do these tensions play into the strategies of Bitcoin's rise and BRICS economic ambitions? Lastly, we're covering Kash Patel's FBI vision. With Trump's nomination of Patel to lead the FBI, we're looking at a potential overhaul of one of America's most influential agencies. Patel's vision could redefine how the FBI engages, or even if they engage at all. He said, and we're going to talk about it a bit, but he said repeatedly he wants to close it down. Of course, nothing would make me happier. It would be music to my ears. These rogue agencies need to be shut down. Sulky community is more bullish than ever, Bruce. Fantastic, guys. Amazing. Keep pushing. Push, push, push. Pump, pump, pump. That's how you do it. That's how you get more people involved. You have to go up. Even if you go down again, you got to go up. That's the way it works. So buckle up as we explore these interconnected narratives where finance, politics, and technology collide, potentially setting the stage for the next chapter of global economic dynamics. Stay tuned as we bring you expert analysis, exclusive interviews, and deep dives into what these developments mean for your money, your future, and your world at large. This is the Impact Money Show, where we don't just report the news, we dissect the future. First up, Bitcoin. Bitcoin has continued to be a significant topic in the financial news due to the monetary revolution. Also, of course, its volatile nature and all these things. Okay. But the monetary revolution, guys, I've been talking about it on the stages around the world for over the last 10 years. I understood early on that Bitcoin was not just about money, okay? Although we needed our own money, but we needed our own money because the central banking cartel had taken over our countries. In 1913, they ruled us. Actually, I got in a back and forth, not a bad back and forth really, but a back and forth with a guy on X. And I said, well, the central bank is in charge. The banking cartel is in charge. They're the ones who pay the salaries of Congress. He said, no. We pay the salaries of Congress with our taxes. But that's not the way it works. Taxes go to the central banking cartel. The cartel doesn't all it is the burn. Okay? I mean, historically, it's been the same amount of federal income tax has been the amount to service the interest of how much money they've printed, right? It's a big scam. But really, at this point, it's just the burn. It's just take that money out of the people's hands so that they can't spend it. Because if they spend it, that'll make inflation even worse. It's called the burn. For us crypto guys, very easy to understand. So that's the burn. The tax is the burn. And then whenever the government needs money to pay their salaries or any of that stuff, they tell the banking cartel, hey, give us this money. The banking cartel tells Treasury, print this up. And that's the way it goes. And then they tag a amount of interest on it. And they're not even lending us actual money. They're just giving us paper money. And they're completely controlling our government, our representatives, everything. They own us. Federal income tax. There was no federal income tax. 1913, they started the central bank and the IRS. Same year they started it. And we have never been the same. We've never recovered. Bitcoin has been trading near all-time highs with a significant, you want to see significant. For the way Bitcoin has been lately, it's significant. But if you're a guy like me that's been in the space for a long time, it's not really that big. But we did have a good, 3% move over the last 24 hours down, trading at about 95, 90 to high 94, 95s right now. This has caused some of the other currencies that have been really experiencing a major upward movement to pull back as well. But not Ripple. XRP, woo-wee. That one's still going up there. $2.26 at the time of this posting. The Doge coin, the doggy coin, still over 40 cents. Of course, we'll deep dive into this stuff with the great Matt Dixon here shortly, so I won't get it too into much all the details of that. Strong investors do believe in further gains, potentially driving this to go higher and higher. Pullbacks are healthy, of course, in the large scheme of things. Corporate investments, MicroStrategy under Michael Saylor's leadership has significantly expanded its Bitcoin holdings, investing billions into the cryptocurrency. This aggressive strategy has led to discussions on sustainability and the impact of Bitcoin's market dynamics. The political influence, the recent U.S. elections have ushered in what's being called a most crypto Congress to date, with Donald Trump's victory and his promises to make the U.S. a crypto capital of the planet. This is influencing market sentiments positively toward Bitcoin. The political shift has contributed to Bitcoin's price surge. And I can tell you as well into our influence. Again, people are eyeing the U.S. They know that with regulation and support, we have here the largest economy. We can do the most with this Bitcoin. Companies all around the world are eyeing the U.S. They want access here. The approval of the Bitcoin options trading for ETFs by the SEC marks a significant step towards mainstream adoption, allowing institutional investors more avenues for engaging with Bitcoin. And this has bolstered confidence. Despite Bitcoin's approach to the 100,000 mark, there's a caution in the market, with some analysts warning of possible correction due to the high leverage and anticipation of concrete policies of the incoming administration. That's something that, of course, we have echoed on the show quite a bit. Markets don't just go up. They go up and they go down. They usually fill in. Okay. And when everybody is leveraged to the hilt going up, it's like I talked to my buddy the other day and I wanted him to put some money on some other stuff. And he goes, "Well, Bruce, all my money's in play right now." And this is a good friend of mine. He wanted to do it. So if everybody's going up, then of course you also have the exchange. Let's talk about the exchanges. These leverage exchanges. What do you think they want to pay everybody out? All of these high leverage earnings. You know, guys are earning 10x, 50x, 100x their money. Can they stay solvent if they do that? No, of course not. Okay. So that's one of the reasons why markets go up, down, and all around. Let's talk about BRICS. The term BRICS refers to an association of 5 major emerging economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Of course, now it's a lot more, but that's the initial ones. Initially coined in 2001 by Jim O'Neill of Goldman Sachs as BRIC to highlight the investment potential of Brazil, Russia, India, and China, South Africa, was later added in 2010. Hence, the acronym became BRICS. Here are some of the key points about BRICS. The economic power. Collectively, BRICS represents about 42% of the world's population, but only 23% of the global GDP. About 30% of the world's land area and approximately 18% of global trade. They are seen as leaders in their regions and are significant players in the global economy. Since 2009, BRICS countries have held their annual summits where leaders discuss mutual cooperation, economic issues, global governance reforms, and international matters. These summits also rotate among the member nations. The latest one was in one of the Russian territories. Putin really was on his A game. Established in 2015, the New Development Bank, previously referred to as the BRICS Development Bank, aims to mobilize resources for infrastructure and sustainable development projects in BRICS and other emerging economies developing countries. It complements the existing efforts of multilateral and regional financial institutions for global growth and development. There's also, they have the Continent Reserve Arrangement. This is a framework for the provision of support through liquidity and precautionary infrastructures in response to actual or potential short-term balance payment pressures. The objectives are to enhance the trade and investment among the members, promoting economic growth and reducing dependency on the U.S. dollar through initiatives like trading in local currencies. Coordination on international issues to increase their influence in global affairs, often pushing reforms in international institutions like the IMF and the UN to better represent emerging economies. Of course, they also want to increase their efforts of people-to-people contact through the various cultural and academic exchanges. They are expanding. They have been expanding. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, I think the cat's out of the bag. The ship has sailed. I don't think that we're going to be able to stop the BRICS currency, but we'll see. We may be able to stop it for a few years. Now, the U.S. dollar, we refer to as trading in the trading world, the DXY, okay? Since Donald Trump's election victory, the U.S. dollar, DXY, has experienced notable movements. The post-election surge immediately following Trump's projected win, the DXY saw a significant uptick, and it has continued, reflecting a market sentiment often referred to as the Trump trade or the Trump pump. This surge was attributed to expectations of stronger economic growth due to proposed tax cuts, deregulations, and infrastructure spending. As of the latest available information, the DXY has hit levels around 107.5, which is high, and it is up today about 1/3%. The anticipation of fiscal policies that could spur economic growth, like tax reforms, reduced regulations, has been very positive for the dollar. The U.S. 10-year Treasury yields have risen, which typically supports a stronger dollar, as higher yields attract foreign capital seeking better returns. People come into the dollar. Trade and tariff policies, Trump's indication of imposing tariffs, especially on China, have been a focal point. While this can lead to short-term dollar strength due to trade tensions, prolonged trade wars might later exert pressure on the dollar if they result in reduced global trade or economic retaliation. Now, Trump's, of course, vision is get rid of the tax, federal income tax, and use tariffs, which is music to all of our ears, let's face it. Investors are bracing for potential inflation due to some of these policies, which could inversely affect the dollar in the long term. We'll have to see. This is similar to what happened to the dollar post the 2026 election. The markets are very volatile right now overall. Now, with Trump's economic plan, of course, you have the tax policy, the extension of the tax cuts. Trump plans to extend the tax cuts from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, which are set to expire in 2025. This includes maintaining a lower tax rate. And this is, of course, just the Trump's economic plan, the key points, okay? Elimination of certain taxes. He proposes to eliminate federal income taxes on tips, Social Security, overtime pay. This would directly affect all types of workers, overtime. And of course, now he's also floating getting rid of the federal income tax totally. It would be absolutely amazing. Corporate tax cut reduction are proposed to lower the corporate tax cut from 21% to 15% for companies in the U.S. He's also floating 0% capital gains tax on crypto, which would just be absolutely amazing. That will bring everybody here. Everybody will come to the United States. Everybody. Trump's tariffs plan includes imposing tariffs notably on across-the-board tariffs, 10 to 20% on imports, and of course, he says 100% if you make the BRICS or if you go against all this stuff. Potentially higher tariffs on Chinese goods. These are aimed at protecting American industry and reducing the trade deficit that could lead to higher consumer. It could lead to higher consumer prices. I don't think it will, and who cares if it does? If we're making the money ourselves, it's better overall. Well, if we get rid of the federal income tax, I think we can all deal with a little bit higher prices, okay? He aims to revive existing trade agreements like the USMCA and, of course, get rid of the bad deals, right? that have cost us so much. Energy independence. Trump emphasizes increasing domestic energy production through drilling and reducing regulations to lower energy cost. Cost reduction. He has proposed to cut energy and electricity prices in half within 12 months. In half, guys, your electric bill. Immigration and labor, deportation, and we're going to hop over to Matt here, and I have another couple points to continue. We'll do it at the end of the show. Plans on mass deportations of undocumented immigrants, also known as illegal aliens. This will increase the job availability for those of us who are here and lower labor cost. Of course, critics argue that it could lead to labor shortages. I'm from a big family, though. I can tell you that I have some brothers that, if those jobs were available, they would do it. He also plans on deregulation. Trump advocating for reducing government regulations across various sectors to stimulate business activity, lower costs, and enhance competitiveness, particularly on manufacturing and energy production. Let's talk about the markets. I have the great Matt Dixon here. There's a lot going on.
Hey, good morning, Bruce.
Matt, how are you?
Yeah, good. There sure is a lot going on. So much. It's actually a holiday here in the UAE at the moment. It's a national day. So
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so what is it? 51 or 52 years now?
51 years, I think. Yeah. So yeah, everywhere's very quiet. Everywhere's quiet, but yeah, it's good. So just popped back to join the show, of course. And I've actually been in demand a lot today. There's a few people asking for comment on the markets because, as you say, there's a lot going on. It's absolutely amazing, isn't it?
Yes. Well, and as I said at the beginning of the show, significant pullback is a relative term because, for Bitcoin, it's really not that significant. I mean, but it is at the same time. What do we have? 3%, 3% pullback. And that has moved some of the market down significantly. But then you have like Litecoin, man, it's strong. Of course, XRP and some other ones. I mean, there's some real highlights.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some of these old coins. What I've really, you never stop learning, do you? So what I've really learned from this time round is about the obviously the cycles, but also about the rotation within the market. So it's amazing how we saw Solana leading the market, pumping to 267. That's a pullback on Solana, but it's rotating all into XRP.
They're taking the money, they're pumping it, and then going to the next one, and pumping that one, and then going to the next one. Yeah, it's very obvious if you like us watching the markets.
Yeah, it's sucking the money out of one, putting it into another, and it just shows there's only so much money available. But yeah, it will be dragging money in from the sidelines as well, from other asset classes. I mean, if you think about it, just go back to where what it's all about. It obviously started with Bitcoin back in 2009. Bitcoin was created a totally speculative asset at the time. There's no one really viewed it as having any fundamental value, as being any store of value or digital gold or anything of that sort. But it's completely changed. So obviously we had that retail phase to 69,000. We had that massive pullback, which was the peak. Let's say the trough of that was the FTX low of about 15,500. So from 69,000 down to 15,500. And then we got the talk of, obviously recovery. The recovery starts before the talk of recovery, but it started to recover. And then we started to hear about the ETF. And then we got the ETF at the beginning of this year. And this really opened the floodgates for institutional adoption. And now we're starting to see that.
Big money come in.
Big money from institutions, but not only institutions. We're talking government now. And 21 million total ever available, and we're almost there now. I think 19.5 million or something have been mined already of Bitcoin. So it's another 100 years to mine the last little bit of Bitcoin. So there's only that very limited supply, and governments are definitely now beginning to use it as a store of value, as basically part of their reserves. And if that were to become wider adoption, just imagine if America were to change their policy and their stance, and it became basically a reserve.
If the U.S. starts buying, we're going to 1 million so fast. I mean,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. I don't have any doubt. So it's interesting. We got to within a whisker of 100,000, and then we pulled back. So that was a very strong psychological level, 100K. we didn't quite touch it. We were talking over and over about there being a potential pullback. And obviously, it's still related. Although crypto, I think another thing we've learned is that crypto is, a lot of the time, it is kind of, it is guided by economic fundamentals and by, macroeconomics and geopolitical issues and so on. There's certainly that element to it, especially as Bitcoin is becoming that mature asset now, which is actually a credible asset that institutions and funds now want to hold. So with that, it becomes more of a regular asset that is affected by these things. But then you've got other crypto, which still has that amazing potential as well for the innovation side of it. So, we're talking about XRP. If XRP were more widely adopted, they talk about it being the banker's currency, don't they?
Yes, so that's what it's a central banker's currency for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the hype may be, maybe getting overdone. Who knows? I mean, it's still not reached its previous all-time high. I think that was $3.20 or somewhere around there. We'll check on it in a moment. So it's still got a little way to go, but we exceeded what I expected for certain. So it's caught me out. And this is what happens sometimes with crypto, that it can really surprise you and move, to the upside. But it's not everybody's been caught out. I know of a number of people who are still holding their XRP. I'm still expecting it to go higher. And a lot of the newbies are now actually talking about XRP $1,000. Now, I don't think that's possible.
$1,000?
Yeah, I really don't think that's possible, because if you think about what the market cap, the number of XRP in existence, it would be utterly, I think it would be ridiculous. But the point is, when people are talking those silly, what I think are silly numbers, that it does just drive the market into a frenzy, and it's gone absolutely crazy. I mean, XRP just a couple of weeks ago, we're down at 50 cents. We're now $2.30. So we're talking, 4 or 5x for a major token. It's flipped Solana now in terms of market cap. So it's absolutely amazing. So anyway, let's get back to a bit of basics here. Just having a quick look at the dollar index. It still does have a big impact. We do need to watch the dollar index because it tells us a lot about money flows, institutional government money flows, and what money is available, where, and how it's going to affect the prices of assets. So I think from this low point here, I think we've had an A up, a B down, and we're working on this C up. So we may have another final push up to go. And as you say, the talk of, all the things that Trump is doing at the moment could provide some temporary strength for the dollar, but I don't think it'll be an enduring strength. And as we said last week, I think the dollar may be set for a bit of a downside shock at some point, but probably before that happens, we'll get some more upside on the dollar. I think that we've had a wave 1 up, 2 down, 3 up, 4 down, and then there'll be a 5 up. We need to check the size of those waves, but it looks as though wave 1 is larger than wave 3 here. If that's the case, then this final 5th wave would need to be shorter than wave 3. So maybe not that much more upside left for the dollar. And then following that, we should get some downside. This does, there is some correlation. You might want to check it yourselves, but there is some correlation there between the US dollar and various cryptocurrencies and also other risk assets. So I'm just looking, okay, that was euro dollar. I'll leave that for the time being. It fits together perfectly like pieces of a jigsaw. If you look at DXY, you look at euro dollar, they're bound, think about it logically, they're bound to fit together because the euro forms about 50% of the dollar index basket, more than 50%, in fact. So there's going to be a very, very tight correlation there. An interesting one I like to look at is the pound against the dollar. And I think, we actually labeled this well in advance that we got some kind of corrective movement to the upside and we're starting to move sharply to the downside. We've certainly seen the beginning of that, and I think there's still a long way to go. If this is a corrective move to the upside, an ABC to the upside, then we definitely expect a lot more downside to go below where this correction started, and that was 103, the pound dollar 103. So I'm expecting at some point, probably next year, to be honest, because I think we're set for some real shake-ups in the market with the US dollar and assets. There's going to be some shake-ups. So we're going to see this pound dollar, I believe, plummeting. So we'll just look very briefly. I know there's a question about Fibonacci measurements, and there's particular Fibonacci numbers. I won't go into that now, but basically there's a Fibonacci sequence which goes 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. And basically what you do is 1 plus 1 is 2. So it's 1, 1, 2. Then 2 plus 1 is 3. So 1, 1, 2, 3. Then 2 plus 3 is 5. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. Then 5 plus 3 is 8. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. And this is the way it progresses, adding on to the previous number all the time. And then when you look at the ratio between adjacent numbers, as you progress in the Fibonacci sequence, it becomes 0.618, or if you divide it the other way, 1.618. So this is what's known as the golden ratio. It's very, very important. So there are certain important Fibonacci numbers. 0.618 is the golden ratio. It's the most important. And then you've got the inverse of that is 0.382. And you've got other Fibonacci numbers. These are all important Fibonacci numbers that we have. So 0.382, 0.618. And if you're looking at extensions, you'll have 1.618, then you have 2.618, then 4.236. These are just important extensions. And the way we measure it, we measure a wave. So in fact, I'll just delete this one for the time being. And I go on, if you're using TradingView, for example, you can use other tools as well, but I use TradingView. And looking at, so I just click on the left there, Fibonacci retracement, and then I'll use my measuring tool to measure. You can see I measured from the top of this wave, I've got labeled W, to the bottom of this wave here. That is a 100% measurement. And the way I normally do it then is you can just move this around anywhere on the screen, but keep that measurement at 100%, and then measure the next wave on 100%. So what I've done, I've then placed that same measurement on the bottom of the next wave. We've got an ABC down for the X wave, and that then gives me targets for the next movement up. Now, the most important target is either 100%, which is way up here, or 0.618 is the golden ratio, is also very, very important if you're looking at extension here. So it will be a percentage of this movement here, the W wave, transposed to the X, and then measuring. Now, what happens with the pound is not a Fibonacci number, but 0.5 we've got here. We can see 0.5 is always, or very often, a very important number when you're looking at the pound against the dollar. And actually, you'll find with experience over time, as a trader, you see certain currencies and certain cryptocurrency pairs they go for different Fibonacci numbers. It's quite interesting that XRP, for example, often goes for big extensions like 4.236, and you can even go beyond that with the Fibonacci numbers. So XRP is one of those wild ones. It has wild, volatile, rapid extensions in price, and we're seeing that. But the pound dollar, being a currency, it's actually called cable, and there's actually a relationship there that is not so volatile. And we're seeing here a 50% relationship. So it moved to exactly 50%. That's that Fibonacci measurement there. But then to confirm it, we look for other indicators. So we see here that we've got what's called regular bearish divergence, where you got high highs in price and lower highs in RSI. That told you that the pound dollar was about to fall. Lo and behold, it fell sharply, and it's fallen in percentage terms for pound dollar a long way. And then if we were to open it out, that's on the daily chart. We'll just go back to I'll go back to the 1 hour just to show it in more detail. If we go back and look on the 1 hour chart, we can see that we got a movement up, which appears to be a correction, some sort of ABC correction. Being corrective, it tells you there's probably more downside to come. So we're just chopping around here, waiting for more downside to come. That means if that's falling, that means more dollar strength. And remember, that's exactly what we said was going to happen when we go back to dollar index. We've got a wave 4 down, wave 5 high will be dollar strength. So pound dollar is inverse to that. So we've moved higher ABC. We're going to move down now to give us more dollar strength. So again, those jigsaw pieces fit together beautifully. So these are just little tips and things that you can learn along the way. As a trader, you pick them up over many years, but you can also have, we can run courses and help people and talk about it on the show. One of the most important, I mentioned this over and over again, was the dollar against the yen. This is a really important risk pair that basically dollar yen goes with risk. So when people are investing into cryptocurrencies, risk assets, S&P 500. You normally see the pound against the yen. That's not the pound, sorry, the dollar against the yen going higher. And then when you see a bit of a sell-off, you see it coming down. And so we've seen a bit of a sell-off just recently, certainly with the cryptos, and it's coming down. So we'll move on to crypto in a moment. But it's not the case with the S&P 500. We're actually been rallying to new all-time highs recently. So bit of divergence at the moment. Usually they go hand in hand, but we're seeing a little bit of divergence at the moment. And again, that's showing, I think it's quite a good sign, a positive sign, that there is some divergence between crypto like Bitcoin and the S&P 500. And when you're investing, you want assets which are not strictly correlated, because you want to diversify your portfolio. You want assets that don't always go in the same direction. Otherwise, if they're going down, they're all going down together, your portfolio is going down together. So you diversify, and you build a portfolio of different assets that are not correlated, that don't always go in the same direction. So it just proves that Bitcoin and crypto and the S&P should all form part of a well-diversified portfolio with uncorrelated assets. So this is just another proof of that rule. We can see here, by the way, we still have, I mean, we're on the 1 hour, it's too short. But I'll probably go back to 4 hour just to make it a bit more. I don't like doing divergences on 1 hour. It's just too short a time frame. I put 2 hour by mistake. We'll go to 4 hour. So yeah, we can see there again, we've got a couple of nice divergences in place. And it's actually continued divergence there. So we can see basically higher highs on price, lower highs in RSI. We see that both over the longer term here since June, July time. We've got a big regular bearish divergence there telling us that this downturn that's to take place. We've got another divergence now. The price moved up there. We've got another divergence now, this short-term divergence telling us high highs in price, lower highs in RSI. Again, we're expecting a downturn. So very soon we should expect a downturn in the S&P 500, I believe. And just opening that out, you can see quite clearly, we may have already started that, because we're beginning to see a spike at the top of here, a shadow, a wick, as some people call it, at the top of this candle. That may may extend, sort of exaggerate further today, and we may start to see a downturn. I expect we're probably going to see a bit of a downturn in the S&P 500. So let's just move on to Bitcoin quickly. Been, again, going pretty nicely as expected. We said there's going to be resistance as we approach that. We got to 99,900, I think, or 99,700. 99,000, almost within a whisker of 100K. And then that's psychologically important, and it got a pullback. Interestingly, we've got to pull back down in what I think was an A wave. I did say this was probably a B wave high, and I said we're probably going to expect a C wave down. So we can still get more of a pullback. And I just think we're due a breather, and we are getting it, it seems. The price is coming down. So from 99,000 Bitcoin, we're now 95,000 Bitcoin. So we're down 4 or 5% already. Potentially a bit further to go, I think. We don't know quite how far as yet, but potentially I believe we have further down to go. So I think we're getting close to correction mode for Bitcoin. And a lot of cryptos will follow it. Bitcoin is the leader, but remember I mentioned a moment ago about rotation between cryptos. So a lot of people have made a lot of money out of Bitcoin. They rode it from FTX low of 15,500 to 100,000. They've made, 5x, 6x, whatever on their money. And they're taking profits now. Fair enough. You've got to take profits at some point. Yep. Makes sense. And what do you want to do with your profits? Usually you don't want them sat idle. You want to see where else could you put them. So people have done Solana as well. It took Solana from an even bigger move from the FTX low of $8 or something to $267. So, we're talking 30x, I think, there. So Solana was even more. So that was a great one to rotate into as well. But now it looks like people are rotating out of Solana, just taking profits there. We can see Solana just today alone down 5%. And where they're rotating to, what's sucking the air out of the market is XRP. So here's XRP. I'll just go longer term on XRP, I think, here, just to show you. I'll first of all go weekly to show you real long term on XRP. I mean, just look at that. Massive movement to the upside there that we've seen since the Trump election win. We've seen pump. So we're seeing it from there, 48 cents. Let's just, I mean, we're around about, yeah, look at that, 48 cents somewhere on that day. And we're now at $2.32 as we speak. It's been above that. It's been $2.48 earlier today. But you can see that amazing pump that we've seen there. It's interesting that the previous all-time high here, we've still got a way to go, and there's no saying we can't reach that, equal it, or even go beyond it. Now we've seen this, who knows, the sky's the limit. We broke through here, which was the 61.8% of this move here. So that was a very, very important level. But then if we measure here, so if you measure, and I'll just do this just to show you, here's what I measured. I measured from here to top of this pump. The pump here was the SEC. The last time they came out, when was it now? April 21. Was it April 21? It wasn't April 21. Sorry. The last time anyway, we got a major pump was to $1.98. That was it. I measured that as 100%. So I put my Fibonacci measuring tool from the bottom here to the top of this wave. I then move this, which again, it's this fixed measurement now, we can move it anywhere. I move it to the next wave, and you can see, moving it to the next wave, 1.618 takes me precisely to the penny to the previous all-time high for XRP. It's amazing how powerful these Fibonacci numbers are. So we've already exceeded the 100% move. So the fact we've exceeded that, yeah, we expect a bit of a pullback, a bit of profit taking, but there's fuel in the tank for a potential further move, at least probably to the previous all-time high. So whilst we might get a pullback, we probably will get a pullback. It's got to be some profit taking sometime, surely. There's still potential room for more movement up. And it will be very satisfying if it did reach exactly 1.618 times this major leg up here, transposed to here, 1.618 would take us precisely, as I say, to the previous all-time high for XRP. That would be very satisfying if that were to happen. So that would be a nice target to have. So those people who are holding on, that's probably what they're holding for. Maybe they just want to hold it longer term. As I say, I've heard people talking, and I think it's rubbish, but who knows? I've heard people talking $1,000 XRP. I don't think it will ever happen, but
yeah, it's hard to hit. But I do think a lot of the pump that's happened, of course, they just printed the money and bought everything. So I don't think it'll happen either. But you keep that in mind.
Yeah, as you say, Litecoin had a nice pump. It's also pulled back a little bit. So I'll just we're on 4 hour there. So Litecoin's been a nice one. I actually gave someone a target for Litecoin. They asked me privately, what's my current target for Litecoin? I said it was this level here using my Fibonacci measurement. I measured this wave here, the A wave, transposed the bottom of the B wave, and it gave me this level here, 120, 126, is it? Somewhere around there, 126. That was my target. And you can see we spiked just above it and we pulled back really sharply. So from 126, if you'd taken your profit there, which was my suggestion, because it's 100%, then you'd already be $10 in profit if you'd taken your profit there, or if you'd shorted from there. It appears to be moving down. Now the danger is if this is an A and a B and a C, and if it's complete, and I can't guarantee we could continue higher potentially, but just looking at risk reward, it's looking promising potentially to the downside. If it's an ABC complete, we could have quite a bit lower to come on Litecoin. So it could be.
It's just a word of caution though. I have tried to short Litecoin in the past. And man, that one, sometimes it just sticks up there.
Yeah, it's one of those dangerous ones. One of the old coins, which they can be, when people get back on the bandwagon with them, they can just go crazy. And you've got to be extremely careful with these. You can get wiped out. I mean, if you're shorting, you're probably doing a bit of leverage. Even if it's 2 times, you can actually get wiped out with these tokens because they can be so aggressive. I mean, XRP, what did we say it's done? 5x or 6x or something in just a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. So even 1.5 leverage, you wiped out completely. Yep. So just shows your leverage is dangerous, and short leverage, going on the short side is absolutely dangerous because these tokens, we saw with Bitcoin what the potential is from a cent, from next to nothing, basically a few cents, to $100,000, and we're seeing so much with the other cryptos as well. Shorting crypto is really dangerous. So just be very, very careful if you're doing it. And if you do, manage your risk reward. Know where you're going to stop your trade, or just trade the amount of money that you're prepared to lose on that particular short. And that's the way I do it. Normally, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So that's quite important. I wanted to just, I know I've already been going quite a bit. I wanted to just touch on Ondo, which is, it's been flying again lately. Just looking at a full price history there.
Nice pullback though. What hour is this on?
I've got the weekly at the moment. So I'm just looking at the full history. So when I'm looking at any token, what I tend to do first of all is look at the long-term history first of all, just see what it's looking like long-term. So potentially the full history here, strictly speaking, I mean, it could potentially be a 5-wave move to the upside because the third wave is not the shortest. There is a bit of overlap here, but a slight bit of overlap between what's potentially wave 1 here and what this wave 4 down here potentially. There's a bit of overlap. Now, strictly speaking, in Elliott wave terms, that is not allowed. But when you've got limited liquidity, and Ondo wasn't that liquid in the early days, a lot of these cryptos, they don't have quite the liquidity. And when you don't have full liquidity, Elliott wave the rules rely on full, complete liquidity. If there isn't complete liquidity, you can get these spikes sometimes, which sometimes invalidate, but I don't call it an invalidation when it's just a little spike and an illiquid currency or not fully liquid currency. So that's the situation. We could have 5 waves up. We could potentially have had a correction down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's hard to say. It could be an A and a B and a C. Hard to say from here. We'd have to look on shorter time frame, which we will do. So, or it could be an A and a B, and we could get another C wave down. So at the moment, it's uncertain from this long time frame. But I just like to see what the overall picture is. There's obviously resistance overhead here, which is 148, quite a long way from where we are right now. So there's always resistance at a previous all-time high for any asset, really. That's going to be like Bitcoin. 100,000 is now overhead resistance because it's a previous all-time high. And as you remember, when I just talked about XRP, I talked about the previous all-time high, $3.30, as the previous resistance. So these are important levels, and even spike lows are important levels. So this is the underside resistance here, and even here. These are quite important low levels. What I will also look at is there any divergence in place? No, there is no divergence in place here. So by that, we can see that basically if you go from highs on price, you can see the price is declining, but you can see also at the same time, corresponding RSI is also declining. So there's no divergence in place. So that doesn't give us a signal. There's no signal for reversal as far as divergence is concerned on this time frame anyway. So having looked at long time frame, I'll then start to look shorter. So I'll go daily, just see where we're at in the daily. Not much of a different picture really. Again, we can see that, well, actually, I think we have divergence in place now. It's interesting when you look on different time frames, and daily divergence is important for me. It's very, very important. So, in fact, here, I'm just making sure these align properly. Just need to shrink that a little bit. Just align this properly. So, absolutely align. So, it's from here. So, that aligns. Let's just see from here even. Up to here. Yeah. So, we can see a slight incline. So, we've got, but definitely declining price. And we've got an inclining corresponding RSI. So basically that's divergence. So the bottom line you can see on the RSI is actually going up slightly. It's only very slightly, but it is going up. And at the same time, the price is going down. So basically, you've got here what's called hidden bearish divergence. This is telling you that potentially price is going to turn down from here. And actually, it's happened already. It's already started to turn down. So that is the first warning sign for me. I'm not saying it is going down for definite because none of these signals are 100%, but you build a case for what you're looking at, and you get a few indicators telling you something. And so here we've got, for example, we've got overbought RSI. That's a warning sign that potentially price is going to come down, the volume is going to decrease, and that's what's happening. But then we've got this hidden bearish divergence. That's telling you of a continuation of this long-term downtrend. So for now, there's downside risk. So I would not be buying, even though I've had a nice pullback, I would not be buying this asset. But if you do buy it, the risk is just above here, the previous all-time high. That's the first risk. And the next risk is a break above here. So that's how to manage your risk and your reward. So for me, I don't like it particularly at the moment. But if I was going to trade this based on this information, I would still trade it short. I would definitely trade it short, because basically the risk is if it breaks above here, I've got a stop loss. The risk is this much I'm going to lose. But the potential for profit to the downside is very substantial based on RSI, based on hidden bearish divergence. So at the moment, I think that Ondo has probably had its run for now, and it's going to at least take a breather. I think it's going to definitely be taking a breather from here. So I think that's probably the same across the board. It's Monday. We had a really powerful rally over the weekend. And I think maybe, as we so often say, you actually get the weekend goes against the trend kind of thing. We've got a bit of a rally, but I think we're going to probably get a pullback. Highly likely we're going to pull back this week. And not all tokens have actually participated in this rally, have they, Bruce? So some of the main ones, as you say, some of those old favorites like Litecoin, like XRP, obviously Bitcoin, even Ethereum had a nice bit of a run, but it's down quite sharply today. We've actually got it labeled as an A, a B, and a C to the upside. If that's correct, then potentially a lot of downside to come. We turned pretty much on the level we expected there. That dotted line is where we expected it to turn. And I'll just check if there was a particular Fibonacci measurement in there. So that's it. So I just measure the A wave here. That was the A wave from the bottom there. I just transpose it to the start of an E wave. Yeah, no particular relationship there as far as that's concerned. So it's probably the main move down. It's probably a Fibonacci relationship of that. I'd have to check. But anyway, other indicators are telling me that potentially we've got downside to come. So we've got really powerful bearish divergence here. So again, we'll draw from this price here to this price here. We can see very sharply upwards in price. And then we just do corresponding RSI. So RSI was massively overbought there. It's come down there. So we just align those. So we can see higher highs in price, lower highs in RSI. That's telling you this massive push up here in price was not supported by volume. So you'd expect from this point to see a downturn. That's precisely what we're seeing. Quite a powerful down move underway at the moment. Every likelihood that will continue. So I'd be interested potentially in shorting this asset with a stop loss just above, because it looks like there's downside to come. And potentially we've got an A, B, and a C to the upside, potentially. Yeah, never 100% with anything, but potential. We've completed a corrective move to the upside, so there's potential for some downside to come. And there's still a lot to happen. I mean, I'm still hoping we get this Christmas rally, but I think we're probably due a bit of a pullback before the Christmas rally starts. But I think if we get a nice pullback, that should give us opportunity to add to our basket, to maybe get involved if we're not involved, and maybe look for some amazing Christmas profits, maybe heading into the new year as well. That's normally what happens. Obviously, we can't be certain, but that's normally what happens. And then we can reassess in the new year, and then maybe we get a more meaningful pullback. But for the time being, I think we are due just a short-term pullback. But for those who are holding long-term hodling, if you got your XRP, by all means hold them, because one thing I heard today was some people have profited basically by the length of time they have held, rather than looking at, trying to gauge the market in terms of analyzing the market. Sometimes these cryptos, as I say, they're quite illogical, and they're driven a lot by sentiment, and purely sentiment-driven assets sometimes defy logic, and they defy traditional TA. And I think that's what we've seen with XRP. So who knows with XRP where it could go to, because it's kind of broken out of the bounds of traditional TA, I think, although we can still see some things like previous all-time highs, Fibonacci extensions, but you have to look at maybe bigger extensions with XRP, as I said. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. I mean, obviously we can look around the other assets, but let's just wait and see what rolls out for the rest of the week. For the time being, time to be cautious, take some profits, or protect your profits at least, and live to fight another day.
All right, Sir Matt. Thank you very much.
Good to be here this UAE holiday day, and look forward to catching up tomorrow. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, everybody. Bye for now.
Enjoy. Cheers.
Cheers.
So the markets are up, down, they're all around, doing their thing. They're really doing their thing. That's what they do. Like I said, markets don't always go up. They go up, down, they go all around. That's what they do. Okay. So to just continue with the overall part of the show, of course, we have the Middle East tensions and, of course, Kash Patel's FBI vision. Okay. The Middle East, and of course, I think, as much as like even this pullback, I'm like eyeing what's going on over in the Middle East, and I'm looking at the markets, and the markets are just going to infinity. And meanwhile, we have, this Israel, Turkey, U.S. backed invasion of Israel using ISIS forces. Like, what in the world is even going on here? And it's pretty crazy. So the situation in Syria, particularly with reference to the involvement of Israel, Turkey, and the United States, alongside the response of Russia and Assad, has been dynamic and complex. Israel's action in Syria. Israel has significantly escalated its military actions in Syria, is targeting primarily what they claim are Hezbollah and Iranian assets. The recent attacks have been some of the largest and deadliest, with strikes in Damascus and Aleppo. And, these operations are often conducted in the occupied Golan Heights. And of course, they would love to pull that into their wing. Turkey's role. Turkey has been involved in military operations in northern Syria, primarily, now, of course, with the training and the funding of these ISIS forces. You're hearing that right, okay? They have sometimes aligned. They are now against Assad. And it's just kind of a mess. Of course, Turkey is a NATO country. The U.S. has been involved in Syria for a long time now. Of course, we have bases there. We have oil interests there. Of course, we went in, I guess, and just took over the oil. We put some bad guys or whoever in charge of that stuff. But there's also an indirect support role in the broader context through its alliances. The U.S. has conducted a lot of airstrikes in Syria. And, of course, they see Iran influence in Syria as being bad. Trump's administration policy included supporting Turkey's actions in northern Syria to an extent, maintaining support for the Kurdish forces. It is a complex geopolitical situation. Russia and Assad's response. Russia has condemned the Israeli airstrikes and has responded aggressively over the last few days. There's been reports of significant, as you can see, I'm not going to play them, but they have been hitting very hard. These guys have been released from prisons in Aleppo, okay? And so, they emptied out the prisons. That was one of the first things they did. They got all their buddies out. And so now all these ISIS guys that Assad had jailed are now out and around doing their things. You got beheadings and everything going on. This move, of course, has been interpreted by some as an attempt to destabilize the Assad regime. Of course, they're trying to get rid of them. Damaging airstrike. Israel has responded, as I mentioned, blah, blah. Russia mentions, these are like big bombs. There's like rumors of the FAB 500 bombs, okay, being used. And there's also now talk of Russia actually sending troops, which historically Russia has done a, training and support role in Syria by not sending troops. As well, the Iraqi military has been moving forces in there to assist Syria. So it looks like there's a broader coalition forming against ISIS, And again, ISIS is being supported, armed, and backed by Israel, Turkey, and the United States. Yes, you heard that correctly. The guys who cut off everybody's heads. Yes. Iraq's involvement might also reflect, of course, its concern over spillover effects of Syrian instability. Of course, it's not going to be good for Iraq. NATO, US and NATO have been providing funding, equipment, training. They have US personnel characters. These things are brand new. They're brand new being taken in there. This arms include sophisticated armaments, tactics that they've gotten in the training. And now it's all against Assad. Maybe it was originally planned for that. Now, the Greater Israel Project context, the actions by Israel, especially in concert or indirectly benefiting, they are benefactors. It needs to be viewed by the Greater Israel Project. Now, a lot of people say that this Greater Israel Project is not real, and I guess it's not maybe an official government thing, okay? But the people of Israel, many of them anyway, believe that the Israel they have is supposed to actually be they're supposed to have Syria and Lebanon and parts of Turkey and Saudi Arabia and, right? That's what they believe, right? And there's people that believe that. You can Google it. Even Google will tell you. So they are, of course, directly a benefactor of Assad getting out of Syria. They weaken Syria. They can put in some type of puppet government, basically taking control of Syria. By supporting or allowing operations that destabilize Assad, there's a push towards a situation where Israel could negotiate or dictate terms more favorably. And, of course, with the Greater Israel Project. So you have to look at it through that lens. If you don't look at it through the Greater Israel Project lens, you might not really understand what's going on. It's very important to understand what's going on over there in the whole context. Kash Patel's vision for the FBI. Kash Patel has expressed a vision for the FBI. And actually, before I get into that, I just want to show you guys some of the U.S. personnel characters stuff that is showing up in Syria. I had this pulled up. Let me see if here we go. American M13 armored personnel characters. Let me just pull this up here just to give a little more context. Look at these things. They're brand new. Looks like they've never been used before.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
I'll just, I don't want to listen to that guy. But check these bad boys out here. Check that out, huh? Those are U.S. American M113 armored personnel carriers. And that's what the ISIS forces are using over there, the terrorists in Syria, to go against the Assad regime. Now, we've been through this a number of times, and I will say that Assad is the only legitimate leader of Syria. We've done so well with our regime changes, right? I mean, let's get real, guys. This is craziness. Anyway, all right. Let's go on to the FBI. Trump's Kash Patel. Of course, over the weekend, Trump appointed or nominated Kash Patel to be the head of the FBI. Kash has expressed a vision for the FBI that involves significant restructuring and reorientation of his mission and operations. Here are some of his stated ideas: reform and rebranding. Patel had suggested that the FBI headquarters would be shut down and reopened as a museum of the deep state. I think it sounds like a great idea. What do you think? He has a strong desire to dismantle. He has indicated a strong desire to dismantle what he perceives as the entrenched bureaucracy or deep state within the agency. I think we can all agree with that. This would be absolutely fantastic. You know, the United States survived for hundreds of years for a long time, except for the last 100 years or 120 years. Without the FBI, we were totally fine. Just like without federal income tax and all that stuff. We're fine. Patel has also mentioned sending thousands of employees from the FBI headquarters across the country to focus on traditional law enforcement tasks, like chasing down criminals, rather than what he views as politically motivated activities. What are politically motivated activities? I mean, look at what these guys have been doing. I mean, just going after Trump, going after all the good guys. I mean, talk about an out-of-control rogue agency. Now, of course, I think that Kash is going to have to be a recess appointment if he's able to get in, because these guys don't want him. They don't want reform. These guys don't want reform. Patel has been critical of the FBI's intelligence operations, suggested that these should be separated from the Bureau's traditional law enforcement roles. He believes this would address the problem of political bias. As for whether Patel will succeed in implementing these changes, of course, who knows if he'll even get in there. Hopefully he will. He does need the political support. His confirmation is going to require U.S. Senate approval unless it's a recess appointment, okay? Which I think will be the only way he'll get in. That will be contentious because the U.S. Senate is protecting themselves at this point, and they're protecting their guys in the FBI. Okay, the deep state, which is firmly entrenched in the Senate, is not going to go out without a fight. Of course, Kash Patel has support of some Republican senators. He also has a lot of critics and skeptics who point to his lack of traditional FBI leadership and his overt political loyalty to Trump. Hopefully, though, we can get him in there and get some things done, because that would just be absolutely fantastic. Now, once he is confirmed, or even if he is confirmed, the practical aspects of implementing such drastic changes would be significant. Transforming the FBI operations, particularly its intelligence gathering capabilities, may involve legal, logistical, and operational complexities. Moreover, the resistance from within the Bureau itself will be strong. They're, of course, going to try legal challenges as well. So we'll see what happens. But God help him, because the FBI should be shut down. And hopefully we're able to get Kash Patel in there. He can shut the FBI down. It's a rogue agency. And as well, Elon Musk, the great Elon Musk, and his friend there, Vivek, can start closing down these agencies. We need these agencies to be closed down. Close down the IRS. We need to close down the CIA. These rogue agencies have no place in our republic. And again, we are not a democracy, people. We are a republic. A democracy, you elect people and then they rule you. In a republic, you elect people and then you still have influence. We are a republic. We are a constitutional republic. Anyway, that's it for me. I got to get the kids to school. Love doing the show. I'll be back on your TVs in about 5 hours. And of course, back streaming live tomorrow morning.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.